Now that the playoffs are pretty much down to the final two. Whoo. We, by me that I was like flip that W upside down, and I meant me, is going to talk about who I perceive as the winners of the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? Like obviously, the winners of the playoffs are the two teams facing for the finals, Boston and the Dallas Mavericks. But by that, I'm saying like what team sort of benefited from these playoffs. So let's go. And I was like, I only did like 5 here because it ain't like that many or nothing like that. But hear me out, Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I know what you're thinking. They got bumped out, and B was hurt. Um, but I think a couple things was important. One, and the most important one, is Tyrese Maxey showed up. And by that, I mean, we all figured how good of a player he was. Got to an all-star. But him being this good, him having a 50-point game, him shouldering load with Embiid or without Embiid. And by that, I mean, like, I know the regular season wasn't for him to carry, but I was like, granted, first year kind of with that. But in the playoffs, when Embiid didn't have it going, Maxey had it going. Maxey was being complimentary. I was like, he was showing out, hitting big shots. And I was like, to me, I think that's a win because if they wasn't able to get in the playoffs, you might not have been able to see this. Yes, he was going to get an extension because nearly most of the first, I mean, your players get that. So that's not even a thing to me. But seeing him the way he did it, you're like, and the next thing is really the fact that it's like the I guess the cap. I would like the money you're about to get up. I know that's not necessarily a win, that's not a playoff, but with Tyrese Maxey of seeing how good he could be, I think helped formulate who you should go after. Because if Tyrese Maxey was just pedestrian, you might be like, oh, I need to go and get someone that probably is where like Maxey could be a 2.5 type of player. But if Maxey could do this where he could be the number 2, sometimes be Batman as well, then now you could think of like, I don't have to swing for that big ass fish. I could just get somebody that could be like a complementary role. Like people are already talking about like Paul Jordan. I was like, that's not bad where he could shoot the 3. I mean, not shoot it, well, yeah, he could shoot the 3, but I was like, he could shoot, he could score, he could be your number 1, he could be your number 3, he could be your number 2, he could fit in, he plays defense, all that type of thing. He's not somebody that's high maintenance where like Zach LaVine comes in. If he's not scoring, what is he doing? But if Maxey was showing that he was able to do all this, you might think like, oh, I need to get more scoring in. Now you could get a good, like Mikal Bridge or something like that, and then fill in other spots and being like, I need that big name, big player. So I think that was helpful in that. Number 4 is I put the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, we knew their time was coming. We knew eventually they were going to show up. We just didn't know about to be this year that they would be all the way at the number 1 seed. Now, I think one, good. They all got the experience. They all got to play outside of SGA. Everybody else got to test the playoff. You get to see what else you need on the team, how much Shaq can handle, all that other stuff in their future in this series about what he can handle and what he can't. But it was just a good showing to show that you're already here and you're ready to go. Whereas they could have been in the play in and we'd be like, oh, okay, cool, nice story. When it's like, no, they're here and there, and I was gonna rhyme it with something else. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. They know what a pro wants and they know what a pro needs, and they gave it to you. But yes, I was like, they played phenomenal the whole year, and I don't see why next year they won't be able to ball and do the same thing. Number 3 is, to me, the New York Knicks. I was like, It was sort of weird to put. I was like, I thought about putting them higher, but I was like, I think that once they got the Anobi trade, that we sort of thought that even though they didn't have Randall, they'll be number 2 seed, which they was, and they can battle against Boston. But all the injuries ravaged them. But I think once again, what you'll see with all these teams is that they show basically a lot that nobody didn't see coming. We knew Brunson was good because he showed out last year in the playoffs, but this year he showed the hell out. DiVincenzo was lighting up a storm. I was like, Josh Hart looked like he was over here being like he was like Andre Iguodala in this whole. I like Hartenstein. I was like, you got McBride. You got a thing from Burks. Uh, that they could have probably been like if they was healthy, we might have seen them instead of Boston. I was like only reading the third because we already had the expectation for them. But even in the playoffs, they showed out in a way that we were like, okay, this is crazy. Um, with that, number 2, Indiana Pacers, because unlike the Knicks, there was no expectation. We didn't have any thought that they would make it as far as they did. Now, granted, that is sometimes how the thing roll, where like injuries and stuff like that can't help it. That you gotta play who you play, but the way that they played, like I said, everybody gets playoff experience, so it's like that's helpful here. Um, I was like Halliburton, how he, like when he did have to show up, he showed up. Um, you seeing how their pace and space uh, was able to work, and also being able to be seen by everybody else. Most people ain't in the end of the game. Be real. Um, no, I was like, I think even then they came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting it. And number 1, Minnesota Timberwolves, because how they got to this point, like them busting the Suns' ass, them taking the heart out of Denver. I was like, especially in that game 7, and becoming the whole meme and Jordan, whatever you want to say throughout the whole playoff. Everybody already expecting him to be the future and all this other stuff. The defense that they played with, um, yeah, no, I think that they gave everybody sort of what we want when we see these playoffs. Outside the Knicks, I feel like they were probably one of the harder playing teams that, even though it didn't go well in Dallas or whatnot, you're encouraged still by it just because of all the things. So even though the way it ended was like a dud, but the fact that it was able to knock off Phoenix with no problem, and Denver, where it's like it was back and forth, a couple blowouts, but then the blowout that should have been, and they just rallied back. And to be honest, they might have just got like that might have been so much for them to come back in that game. They might not have been able, that's how I think about it in my head. But anyway, those are the winners of the playoffs. And yeah, that's pretty much it until the finals. I'm out, guys.